Hi, I'm Danny Murphy with Danny & Associates. Today I'll be discussing the 8 reasons why doing a for sale by owner probably is not in your best interest as a homeowner. The first reason is knowledge. What you don't know can absolutely hurt you, and it can come back to bite you even worse. A real estate agent's knowledge is priceless. Agents know what the internet doesn't tell consumers, and they can provide really valuable insight that consumers just really can't get online. It's hard to Google these things. And agents know how to make sense of the data in the entire selling process so that sellers in their home are fully prepared before hitting the market. Number 2, I'd say, is everyone's time is valuable. But as a seller, do you truly have time to attempt to play the real estate agent role? As a seller, are you available to show your home in a safe manner, and is it accessible at a moment's notice? How will you as a seller handle showings if you're on vacation, for example, for a week and there's a cash buyer in town? Do sellers have the time to devote to scheduling and managing showing appointments? What about their feedback from agents that show? Do you know how to ask the questions to get the best way to reach agents to elicit a response from them? Are you able to, as a seller, to aptly respond to agent and buyer questions or their concerns or objections in a manner that will help overcome the hesitation to move forward with that buyer? Also, our sellers able to offer solutions to buyer-perceived obstacles with the property. Those come up all the time. And can you furnish expert resources such as architects, contractors, designers, engineers, or other experts to help people buyers move past any hesitation? The third thing would be presentation. And really in this business, image is everything when it comes to real estate. So you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And the same goes for putting a property up for sale. Do you as a seller know how to properly prepare your home for the sale, and do you know what it needs or doesn't need? Are you able to stage it or bring someone in who can? What about professional photography or drone footage, video, lifestyle videos, 3D renderings? Are you as a seller able to orchestrate the photo and video shoots with ease, and would you know who to contact? The fourth reason is marketing. As a seller, how are you going to market your property? Do you know who the buyer demographic is for the home and for the neighborhood? And then how do you reach those? How do you reach those potential buyers? Do you have access to predictive analytics or know how to strategically promote the listing to other agents in the community as well as on social media, and have the right social media platforms to do that? What kind of print media is appropriate for the property? How would you as a seller have that created and printed? Who would you go to? Also, what agents are most likely to have buyers for the home, and how are you communicating with them? Are those agents local or regional? Are they national, international, or all the above? And how are you going to communicate with those? Number 5 would be negotiation experience. So now you're a seller and you've received an offer. Now what? Now what do you do? How do you respond to it? What forms do you use? What are you looking for in the purchase agreement in terms of terms and conditions to make sure that you've got an advantageous deal? What terms and conditions would be detrimental to you? What costs should you or shouldn't you incur? Do you know how to negotiate to keep the buyer in the game versus walking away? And then how do you strike that delicate balance between protecting your interests as a seller, but also working with the buyer toward the goal of putting the agreement together? And this is where what sellers don't know can really hurt them and cost them the most. Number 6 is inspection and repair requests. This is one of the most difficult parts of any real estate transaction, even for real estate professionals. As a seller, do you know what inspections you should expect to have done by the buyer? How should you handle these items that are flagged as needing repair or replacement by an inspector? What things should you be taking care of? What repairs are typically done by a seller? Do you have a roster of repair people that you can go out to at a moment's notice to get things fixed quickly? And if you don't know better as a seller, you could find yourself making an improvement versus a repair on the home for the new buyer. Number 7 would be transaction management. So the home's under contract with the buyer, and what do you do next as a seller? Do you know who you need to be in contact with in terms of escrow, title, the lender, service providers? Who's going to handle the closing? What items should you be following up on after week 1 or week 2 or week 3 or 4? How should you handle challenges like the property not appraising? That happens from time to time, and if it doesn't appraise for the contract sales price, how do you manage through that without derailing the deal with a bad appraisal or a tough inspection? What happens if the buyer's financing gets shaky? How do you manage through that to keep the deal together? And number 8, I would say, is closing finesse. As a seller, do you know what the closing protocol is in your market, what the expectations are? When do you have to be, as a seller, completely moved out of the house? Perhaps you as a seller need to do a rent back from the new buyer, and how should that be handled legally and contractually? What condition are you expected as a seller to leave the home in? How do you handle the unexpected things that inevitably come up, like last minute issues such as the movers damage something in the property when moving things out, or the air conditioner stops working on the last day before closing, or worse yet, the moving crew doesn't show up on the day that you expected them to. All these things tend to come up, and a good agent will have seen these and knows how to manage through these challenges. So in closing, selling a home without an agent can be very problematic. There's a lot of pitfalls and a lot of liability to you as a seller in a transaction. And ultimately, these unguided decision making can really lead to costly mistakes that in the end and in the long run probably will cost you more than if you had hired a really good seasoned agent to protect your best interests and also sell your home for top dollar in the shortest period of time. So for more information on what we do at Danny & Associates to help protect our sellers and get them top dollar, please call me at 949-413-6967 or visit my website at www.thesocallife.com. Thank you.